There are three energetic walls preventing you from living an abundant life. And today, Coach Amanda will help you break through all of them. Amanda's journey began in early childhood with a fascination for understanding financial beliefs. As a chiropractor and a practitioner of diverse therapies like kinesiology, emotion code, Akashic records clearing, and money maze consultancy, she has dedicated over 30 years to helping clients globally. Amanda's unique approach addresses deep-rooted financial and emotional patterns, supporting people in breaking free from limiting beliefs through personal and group consultations. Her extensive skill set empowers individuals to achieve transformation and freedom in their relationship with money and self-healing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Life Coach Code. On this podcast, we focus on helping people improve the four fundamental pillars of a human being: the spirit, the mind, the body, and the heart. Amanda, it's an honor and a pleasure to have this discussion with you today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and for an amazing introduction.
You very well deserve it. And let's jump right into it. I just want to ask you a little bit about your childhood and how all of this fascination with energy work and healing and doing the work that you do, how it happened. So, your journey into energy healing and financial beliefs started in childhood. What was the moment or experience that first made you realize the power of clearing energetic blocks? Was there some specific event, or was it gradually something that happened?
I think there was, all of us have stories from our childhood, and mine was quite traumatic in lots of different places. But I think when my dad left, we became a family of three, and my mum was like, and this was in the early 70s where it, you know, you didn't hear of a single parent so much. So whenever we went to the shops, we had to go with a calculator. I'd watch my mum cry, be exhausted. She'd come home from work and she'd be so exhausted. So at the age of 8, I kind of took over running the house and trying to make sure we got the best deals possible whenever we went shopping, because otherwise I knew my mum would get even more tired, more upset, and not have the time to be with me and my brother. So I think a lot of it stems from there in relation to the interest in the finances. But the energy stuff I'd been into since I was really small, and I could see there were blocks in people. I could see where things, to me, it's like seeing a bruise, but on the energy field rather than on the physical body. And I would be like looking and trying to work out, oh, what's that? And so when I got older, I went first of all into a nursing career, and was doing a lot of placements in hospitals and all sorts of different places just to see. And I thought, oh no, that's not really for me. And I was like a detective as well. I really wanted to understand it. So then through car accidents, I ended up on the chiropractic pathway. And as soon as I started putting my hands on people, it was like all that information that I'd blocked because it was just way too much for me, just started flowing through. And I was like, oh, this is too much. In a sense, that's how it felt. But through working with people and then getting into the kinesiology, I started to realize that when we have an energetic imbalance, it causes the physical disturbance. So we'll get the pain and the tension and all of that. But for us to get the pain and tension, there has been an imbalance in our energy field for many months, if not years. But we tend to think, oh, it's just what we did today that's caused that tension, that stress, that pattern of lack to be in our lives. Because for me, my dad going, that linked in directly to the finances. But actually, on speaking to my mum, that's not true. But my mind had set it that way. So there was a whole lot of patterning that I was aware of as I was getting older that kept playing out. And so that's really where things, and then of course, every time you get a client and you're asking the case history and they talk about lower back pain, which links into finances. They talk about shoulder pain, which links into around the heart. They talk about head pain, which can link into overthinking. It was like, oh my God, I felt like I'd come home. That's how it feels when I do my work, like I've come home, because it all makes sense. The part with the nursing, the part with being a detective, listening to what the body's asking you for. Sorry, I'll get a bit excited when I'm talking about my work.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I absolutely agree. There is another layer, so to say, of reality that is not, maybe for a lot of people, they're not aware of this layer. However, it's having an effect on the physical reality too. As you said, energy and suppressed energy especially has a direct effect on people's health, physical health. And as you say, there are different parts of the body that are associated with different, so to say, not so physical problems, like maybe mental problems or stress or even financial problems, that somehow reflects on the body. And I can speak from experience. I Few months ago, we had some financial issues at home that we needed to invest a little bit more money, and it was pretty stressful time. After, so to say, 1 2 months, it was previous month or the beginning of this year, all of a sudden my back just cracked and I got 2 weeks unable to get up from bed basically. And when I was diving deeper into it, like how it, because it was just a second, I didn't even do anything bad, so to say, bad movement. Usually people will exercise, they're gonna do bad movement. I was just stretching, and my lower back just did all on its own. And I got, so to say, bedridden for 1 week, one whole week. I couldn't get up, 2 weeks until it completely passed. And when I was diving deeper, I realized that this stress that I felt, I've never really truly processed it. Some of that stress residue stayed within my system. And in order to capture my attention, it reflected on my lower back. So for me to slow down and maybe not get so much responsibility on my back or other things that, when you dive deeper, you realize. And then you alchemize and you transmute and you release this kind of wisdom, so to say. But it's so interesting how everything is connected with each other. So I want to ask you, how are you perceiving this other layer of reality, so to say, the energetic realm? How, in your life, maybe you've seen some examples reflecting on the physical realm, or maybe you're not even separating as different realm. Maybe it's just one and the same entangled dimension.
Yeah, it's funny because I hadn't even thought of them as being separate until you've just said, and now I'm like thinking, oh, they're separate. Um, but the way that I see it is what happens in our energy field directly affects our physical body, and the subtle energy system, so that field that is around us, as energy is coming in, it comes down through the subtle energy system, a bit like a gearbox in a car. And so, because if the energy comes in like wham, we'd be like on our back very frequently. So the energy almost has to go through these different subtle energy systems so that our body can still perform and do the day-to-day tasks while the information is coming in. But something that you said, when I think it's amazing that you could self-reflect and you could work your way through that, see that wisdom. And often what people don't realize is they're looking at what they've just done now. As you said, you hadn't done anything at that point. But what the body does is it can store every single time there's been stress around specific, say, the money and the bills and having to invest. And it can actually be hundreds of different episodes that you are clearing by doing your introspection and that ability. And I don't know many people that can do what you did.
And I did it mainly because I'm always in contact with people like you who make me aware of the real mechanisms and dynamics of how things work. That's the main reason why we have this podcast, to bring this knowledge to as many people as possible so they can also do the same thing, because it really eases your way forward. It's Nobody's gonna be perfect. Nobody's gonna be like at every moment just doing everything they need to do, like alchemizing. And we all have some things that we need to do. We are all busy, and from time to time we all forget to really look deeper into things, because some things are not worth it to look that much deeper. But other things that might be very similar are very worth it to be looked at. So we also don't know. But it's very important to have this like first aid kit of knowledge, so to say. So when something happens, to at least go through a certain mental protocol to make sure that where it's coming from, at least. So you can maybe learn something that you might have overlooked. So that's why I love what you're doing in your work, because it's really, it might sound a little bit not based on reality, but it's basically what creates reality, which is so interesting. I love one quote I've heard in, I don't know exactly where, but it's really stick with me, and it's such a beautiful way to bridge these two, so to say, worlds that you are seeing as one. It says the reality is basically frozen imagination. So whatever we imagine, whatever it becomes energy first, it will take some time, but it will somehow manifest in reality. So what most people are not aware of, that the thing that happened, for example, today, there are things that started months ago, maybe even years ago. So usually that's why we cannot relate certain events that happen today with their real cause, because it takes time. It's like a loading bar, and there are many layers, as you said, that things first start in the most subtle layers that you cannot really truly grab physically, but then they go, and slowly the bar fills, and then when they arrive to the physical, you're not even aware of this all other layers. Of course, you cannot even see where they are coming from, what's their cause. So what's your protocol? How do you go about these things? Do you have maybe certain time frame that if something happens, you look a few months ago, a year ago? How do you find the real cause, the impact point of a certain event?
So when I'm working with people, if it's even if it's not the first time, but I always, whatever it is they've got that goal or that concern of, I'll just say, oh, when did you first notice it? And then I usually say, what was happening a year and a half before? Because people don't think back that far, they think back a few months, but often, not always, but often I found there's things that could be from a year and a half before. But because I do kinesiology and I surrogate, which I know sounds like a really weird thing, but I surrogate myself for the client when I'm working, because I have been blessed with the gift of being able to feel. I use it within my work, and then I'm usually just testing, okay, when was the first occurrence that the body's ready and willing and able to release, that we need to go to? Because sometimes the body has to get to trust you. You might consciously think, oh, I really want to work with Amanda, but if your body is had a lot of trauma and a lot of betrayal and a lot of mistrust, it'll go, let me just see how good she is. So I'll give her this little piece of information first, and we'll just see how good she is. And I do watch the body doing that. So therefore, from that, I can sometimes be working and clearing something that's ancestral that the person hasn't got any idea of, but it's caught up in the pattern, because who we are right now, we are the end result of everything our ancestors have been through. So often when I'm working with somebody, I will mention, I'd say religion comes up, and they go, I don't believe in any of that. I said, no, that's absolutely fine. You might not, but your ancestors probably would have. And what they believed will have been affecting every generation down, and even possibly affecting you now for your not believing. And I said, and that's absolutely fine. But what to really address what's going on, we just need to clear these few blocks. And we work that way. So there isn't a time frame per se, but I usually do go for that 18 months. What was happening a year, 18 months ago? And without, I think probably about 95% of the time, people will always go, oh yeah, that's when I lost my job. I mean, that's massive. That's when I had a really bad relationship. Oh, that's when my best friend left. Big things, but they don't put them on the case history form.
It's brilliant, and none of us is thinking that far, right? None of us is thinking year and a half ago. We cannot. It's good that people can even remember, but they can remember because it was something big, right? It was
Yep.
something big that had an impact. Usually what we say in my culture, and we say this in my family too, is whenever you are stressed, that's not when the things show up. It's when you relax, when the stress will catch you. It's something like this saying we have: when you relax, then stress catches you, because all the time that you had stress, your body is fight or flight, but when it relaxes, now it's time for processing. And when it's time for processing, then all of this energy that has been pending is coming for you to process. Sometimes comes all at once, sometimes it comes slowly, hopefully. But yeah, do you have any idea what determines how the energy will behave and how it will come? Because for some people it comes as a panic attack, for some people it comes as a sickness, for some people it comes as overthinking and maybe anxiety, but for some people it's different. It behaves differently. For other people it behaves differently. What is the main reason?
The one thing that I have found from it, I don't know that there is a set protocol for each person, but what I have found is that depending on how in our very early years we have seen adults behave, well, how we have heard adults speak to another will depend on how our body thinks we need to react as an adult. So, for example, if obviously I was a bit older when my mum was tired and crying through exhaustion, but it can be that what happens is I will work and work and work and work and work and work until I break down in tears, which is like that's my body's way of saying, Amanda, you've done too much. Why doesn't it tell me when I've just done a little bit too much and I've got space to actually relax? But it's because it's that learned behavior, but we don't listen to the warning signs, do we? We don't, if we're tired, we don't think, oh, we'll go to bed early, or we'll have some rest, or we'll go out and get some fresh air, or have some water. We just say, I've got too much to do. I'm just going to put my head down. And so we can keep doing that. And in the end, what happens is the body will give us gentle reminders. And then when we do not listen, it takes us out. It takes us out in whatever way that it is, through a panic attack, which sounds really terrible. What a way to take you out, but it makes you stop. Yes, you've got to deal with the panic attack, but that subconscious isn't thinking, oh, that's a problem. It's just thinking, I need to make them stop. So from what I have found is like with the worrying, when we go, when I was at school, if I wasn't worried, I was worried why I wasn't worried. Honestly, I mean, how mucked up in a way was that? But it was like that was the way my brain. So I've had to do eons and eons of work to actually address these. But that's why I think, in a way, I work so well with people, because I've literally had to almost overcome and work through, not in a hard way, but just work through and clear those patterns. But every person that I've worked with over the last 30 years, I would say most of their behavior mechanisms of how they deal with stress is very much linked into what they saw and perceived as that child. And it can be that pendulum effect that I am never going to get like that, never going to do that. But it's still a vow. It's a vow that locks you in to that behavior.
Energetic walls. Let's dive into that. You are calling them energetic walls, and you say there are three walls: heart wall, career wall, and financial wall. Can we speak a little bit more about that? And can you extrapolate each of these three, how they're different from each other?
Yeah. So through working with people, these are the three main ones. I mean, you can have other energetic walls, but these are the ones that I have noticed time and time again. But they are like walls that the subconscious builds around us in order to protect us. So it could protect us from financial worries. It can protect us from heartache. It could protect us within our career. This is what the subconscious thinks. But the subconscious is like that very young child. So it's not when things need to be relaxed. So once the stress is gone, it doesn't go, oh, okay, lads, tools down. We don't need it anymore. It goes, just in case. Just in case. But what happens is these walls are made up of old emotions and events that have happened directly to us or our ancestors, or even the culture that we are living in, because we're like sponges and we absorb everything. And they act like satellites around our system, attracting in energy that will prove that you need the wall, will prove, see, there's problems with money. We need to protect you. So it will just keep, and that's why sometimes you can feel like, God, no matter what I do, it just keeps happening. What's going on? And it's because the subconscious has literally built up these energetic walls around you to protect, but it's actually doing the opposite. And so what I find is that when I'm working with people, one of the first things we often do is the heart wall. Because with the heart wall, you can feel disconnected. You feel like you're on the outside looking in, that you try to speak to someone, but it gets misunderstood. There's miscommunication. And it's like I'm speaking one language and they're hearing another. And it's because as your energy comes through that wall, it has a distortion. And that distortion is energetic. And the person picks that up. I mean, how many times have you been into a room and you think, oh, I like it in here, or whoa, can't wait to get out? It's the same with our energy. Everyone will have noticed it. That there will be a time there'll be somebody that go, oh, I go near them, and then there'll be, oh, they're lovely, and they just want to hug them, and don't even know them. Obviously, maybe not quite as intense as that, but it's the energy. It's that energy vibration. And so with these walls, I have found that they attract in situations that resonate with our limiting beliefs, our negative programmings. Why they can't be positive? Then there wouldn't be a wall, would they?
It would be a bridge, maybe.
It's a bridge. That would be so lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah, just go over it. Yeah.
Well, before we dive even deeper into this topic, and believe me, it's going to be so epic when we dive, for people that would like to learn more about these walls and if they want to work with you, do you have something special for them?
Yeah, I've made a tailored meditation specifically to help to start to dissolve these three walls. It's just under 9 minutes long. And what I would suggest is that people do it daily for, say, a month, and then just like once a week after that. And it won't necessarily get rid of some of the bigger traumas, but it will soften things. And for some people, that is all they need. They just need that. And then they go, oh, okay, I can react differently to that now. A bit like you worked through with your back. So the thing is that we often feel that we have to give our power away to somebody else in order to fix us. I don't believe that. I believe it's about coming more and more into alignment. And that's why I've done that meditation, so that people can use that from now. All they just need to do is just fill in the sign up form and it will come directly to their inbox. And then they can download it and use it.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. And all the links are going to be in the description for your convenience. So, anybody that's interested, go to the link in the description and you will find this free 9 minute meditation that's going to serve you like an energetic hygiene that you can do every day. And you can clear yourself from these energetic walls that are preventing you from success in your relationships, in your business, and with finances. So, let's get back into the podcast now. I want to focus more on, let's go through each wall separately. So you said about the heart wall, and you basically what this energetic wall is like a filter that's distorting your energy, your expression, but it's also protecting you in a way. So how I'm thinking about this, because I try to relate to myself and through the society where I live in, and I compared it to different societies where I was living in, because I'm also seeing a difference. And I was speaking with my friends uh, about this topic. It's literally like something is dragging you down when you're in a certain city, and something is pushing you up. And I was not a believer, but I did a test. I was in the same city for equal amount of time doing the same exact thing, and I earned more money, and I went just to a different city. That was the only thing changed. I didn't change the amount of work I do, how I do the work, nothing. And the amount of money I was earning dropped. It was just the environment. And I was like, okay, I understand that the environment can impact your mindset and you can be more lazy and you will not work. But how can it impact me when I'm doing the exact same thing? It's just where I am based at, which doesn't even change the nature of the work I'm doing. So how it can affect me or the results, because I don't see a logical thread. And then I dive deeper into energy and understood that energy is not bounded by space and time, that it's actually in the quantum realm and it affects with different mechanisms. So I want to ask you, what are these mechanisms first, and then we can maybe dive into each of the walls.
So when you ask me what are these mechanisms, are you meaning in why when you went to a different place could you feel like that?
Yes, absolutely. It's not just feeling, it's the
Yeah,
results are showing, like
results.
literally.
Okay, so if you think that we have a frequency, each of us have our own energetic frequency. And in the world, each point has every single sort of like point on the longitude and the latitude has a vibrational frequency. So you can stand on one place and that can be so in alignment with you that your light shines and it absolutely shines out. And then you can go on to another point where we have what we call like a negative spiral. And if you go and stand on that, it actually like drains your energy. And what happens is that then means that people that are looking out for you, they won't see you so much because your light isn't shining as brightly because it's being drained in to the ground or the earth or to the culture. And this is why sometimes, I don't watch the news and I haven't watched the news since I was about 14, 15 because I would find that if I watched it, if I was in the room when it was going on, my energy would go down and down and down. And no other reason. And it wasn't that it was necessarily bad news, but it was just almost like suddenly, wow, all these people are like so sad or so angry or so divided. And so again, it's things like that. So it might not be the earth itself that is having it, but it could be that the people that are in the houses around you are bickering or angry or enraged about something that's happened to them at work. And when you're sensitive, you can pick up their energy without even realizing it. And that's why when we were moving, I had to go into every house that we looked at and I would say, do you mind if I just go upstairs? And I would stand upstairs by myself with my eyes closed and I would just put out the feelers for a few hundred yards around just to see what the energy was like and whether this was going to be an okay place for me to go. Some of them felt great, not many. One, I really liked the house. I really liked it. I closed my eyes and all of a sudden I was like in complete and utter panic. And I just couldn't wait to get out of there. And so, we didn't buy it. And then what we found out afterward is the whole of the line of that area, everyone in the houses had been really sick. And that's the thing. So the earth has energy lines that go around it. And depending what your energy vibration is and what that line is and what that energy is of the earth can depend on whether you shine or whether you fold more inwards. So
So this proves the point that finances are also energy, and how you receive
yeah,
money is also energy, because if just because of the change of your environment and the change of your energy, your finances are affected by doing the same exact work, it means that energy can affect your finances, which means that they have also specific energy, right? So other logic I cannot find how these two things can be directly correlated to each other.
the other thing that it can be as well, something that's just come up, is that depending on which country you were in and depending on what your ancestors have been through. So, for example, say your ancestors had been through war or hardship or strife and had lived in an area that had a similar frequency to the city you went into. what happens is in our system, the body is a bit like a reference file and it goes back through all our references. When did we last feel like this? Ooh. And so then it can start to bring through the ancestors' issues and everything around money. And again, it's almost like it puts a cap around you. And it does, it caps what you can earn because these other patterns have got triggered off. I find this I love this subject because it's just like, here we go. And that's the thing is that, and it's never, and this is going to sound like a funny thing to say, it's not really ever about the money. It's about what is it that the finances give you? Is it that they give you security? Does it make you feel more trusting? Does it make you feel more peaceful? But we're often looking as, okay, I need to pay those bills. But already you're in that space of lack. Easier said than done, this, I know. But yeah, and so it's all that frequency. But you just moving the city, it could have been that it was the energy of the land. It could have been that it was something ancestral that had been triggered off. It could have been something cultural that was going on that was around you. And you don't have to know it, but you will feel it.
I love that. And this is how I was seeing this, how I explained to myself. I feel like we are swimming in a pool of consciousness and energy. And like it or not, our own consciousness is becoming merging with the pool, right? Whatever pool we enter, the energy we enter, the environment we are in, our energy also kind of merges with that energy. And like it or not, we also get affected by this environment. So I felt like when I'm in this specific place, people and their minds and how they think is on a much, so to say, higher level. And when I say higher level, energetically higher, of course, but how I can explain to people who are more, let's say, focused on the tangible things,
Yeah.
they are more open to possibilities and they're thinking more creatively and they're thinking more with reason without their emotions judging them. So they're more result oriented, the people around you. And when they're more result oriented, then it means that they see more options. When they see more options, the economy itself that you are surrounded with, it's more fast, it's a bigger economy. So this type of consciousness, even though you are not affected of that economy and you are not doing the job in that you're doing it online to some other country, it's affecting also your mind and how you think, but also it's affecting because as we said, energy is beyond space and time. It's affecting how your clients feel about doing job with you. So if in one place I had less clients and in another I have more, I believe that just me being in this other place is giving my clients a green light to buy because they feel beyond space and time that the energy is bigger there, and when I'm in the other place, the energy is lower. Does this make any sense?
That's perfect sense because that's everything what I mean about alignment. When you are in alignment, when your light is shining, people can see what you have that
And when
they
you say can see, you mean they can sense even beyond, even if they are not around you.
yeah, yeah. I had somebody contact me the other day. I last worked with them 15 years ago, and they just said, "You just suddenly came to my mind." And it was just like I'd actually the day before done this piece of work on myself just to release something that I felt was going on, but I didn't know what it was. And it was just like suddenly there was people that I hadn't treated for a decade and more contacting me. And thankfully I still had their case history forms, but it was just interesting. Again, what made them think of me? I hadn't sent any emails. There was none of it. But suddenly they thought of me again.
That's so important that you mentioned. And this is bringing us to the first wall, the heart wall. There are so many energetic bonds, so to say, that we have with people that might not be very positive. They might be even, I don't want to say negative bonds, but bonds based on you just being irritated by someone, or you just hating someone. Somebody said something and you think you understood them. Maybe you didn't, maybe you did, maybe they really meant it like you understood them, but it's kind of itching you from inside. and you are not processing it, you are not letting go of it, you are just postponing it because it's not a big deal, it's a small deal. I mean, it's just they irritated you. You don't need to separate 30 minutes to meditate and release it. You can just go do your work. But this thing is kind of keeping you bonded with the other individual. And the moment you have the time to release this, or maybe uh, it even happened to me, this individual for some reason pops to your mind, they can be literally in the neighborhood and you can really meet them when they pop to your mind just because of the bond you have. So I just want for us to focus a little bit on the heart wall and how these events maybe build this heart wall that we have, and then maybe how to go through it or break it or dissolve it.
So with a heart wall, it's often, most of our energy walls are through small, little, inconsequential things at the point, but it's where we don't have the time or understanding for what that emotion was. So say you're 2 years old, your mum leaves the room and you're in there playing. Suddenly you look up, not there. Mum, mum, you keep shouting, no one comes. So you start looking and you may find her after a minute, but that minute is a long time. And so that can set up this fear that we're going to be abandoned. Then when something else happens, maybe in the playground, someone says, I don't want to play with you. That sense of abandonment and rejection can happen again. And then your first relationship, I don't want to be with you anymore. You're not my type. Again, so you've got all these different pieces. And then what happens is you marry somebody and for some reason or other, they disappear. No, not forever, but they kind of just disappear. They maybe ghost you or something like that. And what can happen is it can bring up all those different times. And then suddenly you are thinking of being in that playground, being abandoned and rejected. You're thinking nobody loves you, nobody wants you. And you then turn that in about what that means about you. But you've attached that to all those different events. So when you've got some of these bonds, and say there might be somebody that's in your life that you know, maybe haven't had a very nice relationship with, and you've got that bond, but in with that bond is all the other events. And that's what keeps feeding it as well. And it drags you back and you can be just dropping off to sleep and then suddenly like, oh, you got this thought come in, and then you start to get the tummy churning and you're like, and you try to get your mind back again. And then it can just keep coming over in waves. And it's like you said earlier, it's when you're not doing anything that it comes up. And then you think, well, what am I doing? What's going on? What have I done wrong? And it's because the subconscious has now got the space to deal with the emotions and the thoughts. However, it could be 30 years too late. So how are you going to know what it is that you got the space for? So that's the time when I say to people, ideally, that you do what I call box breathing. So you would breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And you do that into whatever the sensation is that's coming up in the body. And that can help you to start to dissolve, whatever of the energy walls that there are, whatever that sensation is that's going on that is causing you heartache, or fear or worry or anxiety. Sometimes it's not as simple as that, but these are tools that you can do that don't cost anything and you can pull on in the second that you need to, because we can all count 4, 4, 4 and 4, and that can actually just help to start to calm down that nervous system. But there are sometimes those bonds with people that are quite hard and you will keep thinking of them. What I do say is that if something keeps coming back to mind, it's often a sign that there is a bigger story going on behind it, not necessarily with that person, but it can be just some unresolved stuff. And you may have had the most idyllic childhood. And sometimes that's worse because when they then get shouted at school, they're like, nobody ever shouts at me. And then they dissolve in tears, but they don't remember it because it was a little pocket in time. So it's that frozen moment in time that you were talking about earlier. And they're all the things that can make up these walls and these bindings and these ties to old events. But what happens is it drags us down to the energy vibration of what we were when we first felt it. And that's the harsh part.
I love that you said that. Literally, we are born with one of the highest vibrations, right? We are born as love. But as we go through life, we get, so to say, this dirt on our vibration, just like on our physical body. But what we do with the physical body, we bath, we wash, we clean it. But nobody told us how to have an emotional and energetic hygiene to clear our body. So we just get this dirt on top of us, and our vibration lowers and lowers and lowers, and then we go maybe to anger, then we go to guilt, to shame, even apathy, and fear, right? Majority of the world is living in the vibration of fear. And as you grow older, you start seeing things more seriously, and you start seeing the world as a scarier place, and you think that's what it means to be a grown up. But maybe that's just a result of your vibration being low, lower than what it was when you were young. Maybe it's not maybe that it doesn't mean that you got older or you got smarter or now you can see reality. Because what kind of arrogant thing is that to say that, oh, now I can see reality, with still being able with all your senses to perceive less than 0.001% of everything that is out there? What made you now see the reality, right? What you understand more. You just got your vibration lower, and now you can see the world through a different prism, through a prism of fear. The child has different prism that is seeing the world through, but you don't have that anymore. You have it, but it's clouded. You need to remove all the things that are preventing you from seeing that. And I love how you say that the hard wall keeps love, joy, and connection out, right? This wall we create, our subconscious creates to protect us, because we got some dirt living, and that's life, right? You, even as you said, you have the most idyllic childhood, something will happen, because even if you are the cleanest person, you're gonna go out, a little bit piece of dust will catch on you. And if you don't clean, you're gonna become dirty, right? Physically. Same with the emotion. You don't have to have some big traumatic event. It can be just life, living. And then you can catch these, so to say, pockets, as you say, of low vibration that you haven't processed. Nobody told you how to process, how to clean this energetic body. And they, because of that, your energetic body, your subconscious will create these walls that are preventing you from truly connecting with people. And then on top of that, they will hijack your mind, and you will start overthinking and imagining scenarios that are not based on reality. And they will even more, they will traumatize you more than anything else that made this wall, right? So it's kind of this, so to say, not spiral, but every form of energy, every form of emotion is an entity in itself. And just like you and every other living being, first primary thing is survival, energy also wants to survive. So it's going to do anything it can to feed itself with the same vibration. So it's going to color your world in a way that you pick up only on the details that are reinforcing it. And it's becoming even stronger and stronger. So, it really makes sense that this wall is preventing you from connecting with others, and uh that's the main, so I don't want to say issue, but that's the main reason why you, as you say, in a relationship might not trust your partner, or you will relate it with different things that happened to the past, maybe you're not even knowing that you are relating it, because the connection that is going to be based on reality and the truth and what's happening now with your partner is not being established. So you cannot see the truth of the situation. Only thing you can see is what this energetic wall is projecting into your mind, and you're thinking that is the truth. So thank you for sharing that. I just want to focus now on the second wall, career wall, that stalls your potential and clouds your confidence. So how this wall appears. I can understand the heart wall. We are all growing up and having relationships, but how the career wall, so to say, happens.
all of the walls are created quite similarly. So when you're small, dad might come home from work and go, oh, I hate that job. It's mind-numbingly boring. Or comes home and goes, I haven't got time to speak to you. I'm too busy. I've got to do this for work. I've got to do that for work. And they're like never, ever obtainable. So what happens is that we can, again, make up a lot of different stories about what our worth is in relation to love and recognition. And therefore, what is work going to be like? Because I'm not sure I want to put myself into a workplace where I'm not going to have time for my family. I'm going to just make sure that I'm just coasting along in my job so that I can come home and I can be with my family. So these, again, are unconscious. And there can be also like they've seen somebody on telly and they're a really amazing business person, but they've got no personality. In fact, they're not particularly nice. And mum and dad are saying, oh, God, you wouldn't want to be like that when you get older. So you've got all of those different belief structures that can come in. And then at school, you might have done a painting at school. 3 other people did a painting and they go, oh, that's lovely, that's brilliant, that's excellent. And you go, that's interesting. In our mind, it's like, God, we're not as good as everybody else. Oh, I better not put my head up too high. I better not show who I am because I'm going to get stamped on. And they're the different things that can prevent us from showing up at work in the way that we want to. But they can also, if you've been in that position where you've seen other people get bullied at work, you might think, oh my God, I really don't want that to happen to me. So you're sending out these unconscious waves of energy that employers, people that want what you're selling, people that want to employ you are like energetically scanning you, and they go, oh, he doesn't think he's worth it. No, I'll go over there and take that person instead. But it's not conscious. It's all those different walls, and we can have a wall about how we speak, how we interact, can we get our point across in an interview? And if we've been shut down, children are there to be seen and not heard. That was a great one when I was growing up. And then suddenly you got to speak. How do you know what it's okay to say? Because you're so used to being shut down. And again, these are so much on the subconscious level, but they can affect then how we show up in our job, in our career, and maybe our heart desires to really maybe write. We really, really want to write, but we don't believe because of other things we've been told. So we end up instead maybe sort of like doing a job that, isn't fulfilling us emotionally, but it brings in a pay packet. It means that we've got food on the table. And who am I to think that I could do that? So they're all the different things that can affect how happy we are. And we're at work most of the time, a good third of our life, of a day. Most of us are at work a lot longer than 8 hours with one thing and another. So we're spending a third of our day literally doing something that maybe isn't fulfilling us. And some people say, well, not everyone can do what fulfills them. But I've seen people do what others would class as the most menial jobs, but they love it. They sing, they laugh, they get to interact with people. It makes their heart sing. So it's not necessarily that every person in their job has to have their heart singing, but if they're not having it singing in their job, then they need to have it singing somewhere in their life for us to have that balance. Sorry, does that answer your question?
Absolutely, I understand what you're saying exactly. It's not about the job per se, it's about how you feel doing a job, how you feel doing a work. And this all comes from how you have been programmed as a child or in school, in education. I really believe that also the educational system has a big impact on specifically this career world, because that's the first, so to say, touch we have with a career, right? In the school, how successful we are in school, how successful are our peers, how are the peers who are successful, are they liked or are they not liked? Do people like people who are successful in school, or they don't like? So we kind of put these beliefs about a career, and they shape what we feel it's safe, what we feel it's not safe at the end of the day, right? As you said, if your father comes home and he's overworked, stressed, you're gonna be like, I don't want this. I will much rather just go and have some normal 9 to 5. I don't need to be ultra successful, just enough for food and housing. At least I'm not gonna be like that. And so that's the wall that you are putting for yourself. And it's preventing you whenever you maybe have an opportunity present itself for you to grab even more of the cake, so to say, or have a better job, or even do the job that you want to do, that might demand from you a little bit more attention. You're gonna get afraid and you're gonna back down. You're gonna say no, I don't want it, or you're gonna self-sabotage in ways you're not aware of. You're gonna go to the interview and just fail it, right? You will not be able to express yourself, you will not be able to really show your passion for doing it, so they will not employ you. But all of this happens because of this energetic wall that you've put to protect yourself from a belief that has been programmed into you.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the financial wall.
Mm.
It blocks abundance and fuels scarcity, right? And uh, I want to say that majority of the societies, cities, and if you watch news, or I would say people to not watch news, are programming you to scarcity. They are programming you to think that there is less than enough for people. They're even telling you that population is too much, that people themselves are too much. We need to be the placed on planet Earth is scarce. They're telling, even though the fact is that if all people are put together, we're gonna just be in New York City. I believe that was some statistic. The rest of the world will be empty. So when you truly look into the abundance of the world, the universe, call it however you want, every single thing is abundant. Everything is abundant. Everything, there is more than enough from everything. There is more than enough foods you can try. You cannot try even 10% of all the foods in the world, even if you try new food every day. There are more than enough songs, right? You cannot listen to 1% of the songs, even if listening to songs is all you do your whole life. You cannot watch all the movies, not even 1%, not read all the books, not even 1%. If reading books is all you do all your life. You cannot visit all the places, you cannot visit not even all the islands, not even 1% of the mountains. Every week you climb a new mountain. There are so many things, so many abundant things
Yeah.
that you can do, that even if you try to do them all, you will not be able to do it. And in the money, the finance pool, so to say, even if you do $1 million per month, you will not do even a dent, that the financial world will not even feel you, even if you
Yeah.
do $1 million per month. So there is more than enough of everything. However, because the abundance is so huge and our minds are always functioning to make sure that we are energy efficient, right? So they cannot really handle abundance that much. They need everything to be organized and packed into folders and files, and we know exactly, so we can calculate and we can be more certain. Whenever we are faced with abundance, the mind tends to steer away towards scarcity because it's safer, it's more certain. When you can calculate the amount of things, it gives you better certainty. And I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just a byproduct of this nature of the mind. People tend to reinforce this scarcity, when in reality, if you just look around and you just leave the laziness of your mind aside and just look at the reality of the situation, abundance is the true nature of the world. So how do we create this financial wall and how do we break it? Is my question.
So the thing is a lot of, again, it comes down to negative programming and limiting beliefs because from the age of 0 to 7 and a little bit longer, and whilst we're in our parents' womb, our mum's womb, we are aware of all the emotions and everything that's around us. So you think about being in the womb, mum and dad are faced with, or they were when I was a child, they're faced with, oh my God, we've got to buy a pram, we've got to get a cot, you're not going to be able to work, we need more extra food, we're going to have less sleep, can we afford it? And we're living and marinating in that energy. So they could be really wanting that child, but at the same time, there can be that fear. And then when we are born, we've got like, I can't afford that. You know, can I not just have this sweet? Can I not just have this toy? No, we haven't got enough money. So we keep being told there isn't enough from a very young age. Instead of the mum or dad just, or parent just going, no, I'm not going to buy that for you. They're so used to, because it's been conditioned, no, I can't afford it. No, we don't have the money for that. So we grow up feeling that sense of lack, that that there's going to be so much we can't afford, because we couldn't afford that toy when I was little, and I couldn't have that comic, because they're the things that matter to us at that age. So it doesn't matter how old we are now, it's just that we've got that bit that there isn't enough. And this doesn't affect everyone, because obviously you've got the people that were anything they wanted, but the thing that they wanted was unconditional love. But what they got instead were the comic and the toys and the anything to distract you, so that mum or dad or the parent could be doing what they needed to do. So this is why I say it's not really about the money. It's what is it that money could, if I said to you as a child, and your mum or dad could have said to you, what could I have given you when you were a child that you really needed? How would you answer that?
I would say that more often than not, I needed just a reassurance that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. But as a parent, I mean, mine was safety. I wanted to feel safe, and I didn't. So I linked in, oh, well, when I get older, if I earn enough money, I'll feel safe. But the money could never make me feel safe. And this is why we can become like workaholics. It's why we can start to have all these walls that build up around us, because of what we have made money mean. So for me, it was like safety. For you, it was that acknowledgement. But a lot of the time, it's about having felt that we were important enough to have those moments of fun and joy with the adult. There wasn't, because of the scarcity and lack mindset. And I'll give you an hour of my work and I'll get £6 an hour, or whatever the fee was at that point. So it's like everything has an exchange. Your time equals that amount of money. And it's those conditionings that create this financial wall. And we can have it where we're not going to get better or bigger or earn more than our parent did, because if we do that, then that means we've surpassed them. And no child should ever surpass their parent or grandparent, relative, obviously, to the finances that are around at that point. But these are all, again, the beliefs, the things that we go, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be just like my granddad. And, and we can then emulate ourselves to be like that, but not go past the frequency of what they were like with finances. And these are all those things that can make up our financial walls. And again, it's about recognizing them, feeling when you think about money, when you think about the finances, notice your body, notice sensation, direct and do that 4 box breaths in to wherever the sensation is. Sometimes that's enough to start to dissolve it. Sometimes you need to do it a few times. But they're the different things. Often it's like a mixture of different events and old beliefs. We can have vows of poverty. Oh, I'm never going to be like that person. Never going to be like that, because I'd like to have friends rather than money. So again, it's what we've made. Money doesn't mean friends, but it's what we've made it mean based on how we have seen, again, adults behave when we're younger. And I feel something you said earlier, I feel at school, we should have lessons on spiritual hygiene, on financial acuity, all the things that actually mean living in the world. Because when we're young, we are limitless. We have our imagination can make the reality be what it needs to be. But often our reality has been tainted by the education that we have seen or taken on board from the people that we have perceived and put in authority over us. Sorry.
That's brilliant. So what I'm seeing in all this, there is one main trend: the relationship you have either with other people, either with the work that you do, or with abundance, with finances. So it's all comes down to the relationship that you have with the world or with others, the relationship you have with what these things represent to you. And this relationship, if it's powered by some certain form of limiting beliefs, it can create walls. And for all of us, there are walls. What the main thing, what we need is, first of all, to dive deeper, to see what are these programs that are making these walls. Second, to see how we are actually safe without the walls. And third, to have a good energetic hygiene or emotional hygiene that we practice daily or even weekly, but we practice it and we clear our emotional body from this residue of energy that we've accumulated living into the world. Am I correct? Would you like to add something else? Or
No, I think you've put it so perfectly, because that's the thing. It's about also our relationship with ourselves, but we've got to remember that our relationship with ourselves is based on how we have seen other people have a relationship with their self. So we learn by example, and that's the big thing.
thank you so much for sharing that. And before we dive into the last question that I have about this discussion and what everything that we spoke today, I want to ask you that during these 30 plus years of experience into this field, what is the most surprising or counterintuitive or maybe even shocking thing you've learned about energy and success?
My surprising one is that if we change our mindset, it could be so simple. Um, so it's surprising that we can do it that way, but it's like I found human beings are committed to making things hard work. We're almost like, if it's not a struggle, then it's not worth it. It's like almost like so that we'd be applauded for having gone through so much trauma and turmoil to look on the other side and be all right. And it's rather than, yeah, you could just flick a switch. I mean, because sometimes when I'm working with people, we can do a session and then they're just like, they are thriving, they're flourishing. And then you can work with somebody else doing kind of the same kind of stuff, depending on what their body come up with. And it takes them longer to trudge through. And it is like a trudge through. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, why have they taken longer than that person? And it's again based on whether they believe things can be easy. And so that's what I find shocking sometimes, is the fact that it could be so simple, but we don't have that energetic vibrational alignment with it being simple. We have more of an energetic alignment with struggle, hardship, and what's the word for it? Confusion. And looking outside of ourselves for external verification that what we're doing is right, rather than looking inwards. Because when we start to really feel inwards and we feel, what is it that our spirit is wanting and needing? we're so confused we can't hear it because we've got like our heads going, oh, it can't be that, it can't be that simple. And yet often it is.
So to say, we are not believing anything that is simple, right? If somebody told you that you can just make, let's say, use the example, $1 million per month, most people will think that they need to do so much work. They need to invent the elixir of life or something else entirely. They need to become the new Elon Musk to do this,
Yeah.
when it can be actually really, really, really simple, really easy. It can be something that while I'm speaking now, you already have an idea what it is, but your mind is telling you, no, it cannot be that. It need to be more complicated. It need to be, it's like we are not believing that our dreams can be achieved in such an easy and simple way. We have a map and it's like from here to here. But we are like, no, we need to go like this and then here and then collect some key here to open the door here and then open this door, come here and then speak with this guy and then we can open this door and enter. We are making it more complicated than it needs to be. Why do you think this is, by the way? This is so interesting.
Oh, I don't know if it's the humanness that feels that I have to show that I've worked hard to get where I am. Or whether, I mean, some people say, oh, we've signed up for it before we come down so that we can experience. I'm like, who would want to experience all that? I mean, really. So sometimes I just feel like the human loves to make a story and they love to make this is why it's happened. And I don't know what that answer is. All I do know is that when you get that light bulb moment, when you have that realization, something inside you switches. You made that connection between you doing the same job, same circumstances, two different places. You notice one part your vibration was low, one part it was really high. Nothing was different other than that place. But you realized at that moment how the vibration and the energy of things can shift and change. And if we can get into that space where we feel safe inside, that we can give ourselves unconditional love, then alignment starts to come in without even having to work at it.
I love that. And I would say in my opinion, there are two reasons why. First of all, I don't think people really love, really feel the need for the thing they think they want. If they say, I want $1 million, I don't think they really want it. More often than not, they like the narrative of getting the $1 million. And the narrative itself is that they need to struggle and go through their own hero's journey so they can arrive there. Because if you if you need and want to eat food, right? You don't just go and travel 50,000 miles to get to that place so you can get food. You just go get food, cook and eat, right? Sometimes even walking, you are eating because you need it and you want it, and that's what you're gonna do it. And a lot of people see getting, for example, $1 million as the end point of their whole hero's journey. So they need to make it complicated because they need to make this narrative as long as possible and they need to fill it with other details. So I believe the one thing is that people don't really like the thing they say they like the narrative of acquiring that thing and how that transforms them. The second thing I would say is that we are being programmed to believe that certain things are harder than they actually are. So I think that also plays a role in that. So I believe these two dynamics are also entangled with themselves. In my opinion, that's the how it plays out. But thank you for sharing that. It's really an eye opener that things can be a lot more easier, a lot simpler than you think they are. Thank you so much for coming here today. And before we finish this podcast, if listeners want to start working on clearing their blocks today, where should they begin? And where can they find more about you and your work?
So if they sign up underneath here for the free meditation, that's something that you can be using straight away. That's not the mainstay of the work that I do, the meditation. That's something extra that I bring in when I'm working with people. But if you go on to findyourinnerharmony.co.uk, you can find out about me and some of the tools that I use. And then there's also peacewithin.online, where I do a monthly healing call, which people can come in on this last Saturday of the month, where I clear the energies of the month for everything that's been happening to you and anything that's been triggered off in the ancestral line. So they're just a few different places where people can find out more about me.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for coming here today. All of the links will be listed in the description below this video, so it's convenient for you to find them. You can claim your free meditation today. Just go to the link and leave your email. You will receive it in your inbox. 9 minutes. You can do it daily. You can do it weekly to clear your energetic body and clear it from the residue of energy, but also from these walls, so you can move forward with more ease. If you want to work with Amanda to truly transform yourself in not just these 3 walls, in all areas of your life, and just evaluate where you might have some energetic walls, because these are not the only walls that exist, these are just the most common ones. If you want her to help you evaluate and see where you might have certain blockages, see where you might need work, then I invite you to go to the website we're going to list below, check Amanda's work, check what she is doing, get on a consultation call with her, see if you're a good fit to work with her, and take on from there. Thank you so much, Amanda. It was an honor and a pleasure having this discussion with you today. And do you have anything to say for the end?
No, just thank you so much for letting me get so excited about what I do, and for sharing, and for such a great conversation. Because I think when we have conversations like this, people start to understand more about what's going on and why patterns are showing up in their life. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and I absolutely agree. We need more discussions like this so we can bring this knowledge to more people, so we will have the resources when we need them, and we can do the work when we need to do the work. Thank you so much for you listeners. Again, if you want to claim your free meditation, go to the link in the description. And if you want to check also Amanda, you have the link there. Like us, comment, and subscribe if you want more videos like this. And see you in the next one.